Shalom.
Shalom. Again, Nalini and Miss Sonia here, meeting with you guys and meeting here in this beautiful place.
We are in a beautiful outdoor garden restaurant area of the Sand and Sun Hotel deck in Johannesburg.
Okay, and this area is close to Nelson Mandela Square,
Yes.
which you will see now on the video. So Nelson Mandela, because we spoke about him today, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Did you know he was in prison for 27 years? And then he became president. So, as you said today, from prisoner
To president.
from prisoner to president. How does that sound? And how true is that? So what Nelson Mandela said was, we were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we consciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. How deep, how beautiful, how strong is that?
Yes, and I'd like to say, you know, what we were discussing over coffee this afternoon. I used the word impartation. And in this reading, it's an impartation. He's speaking of freedom, you know. And when he stepped out of prison, there's a beautiful video that I know my sister Sonia is going to bring into this. He did the walk of, he calls it the walk of freedom, where he walked out of the prison through the gates into, you know, the public area.
And the crowd getting excited. There's Mr. Mandela, Mr. Nelson Mandela, a free man taking his first steps into a new South Africa. Mrs. Winnie Mandela next to him, waving to the crowds. Hand in hand, they leave the Victor Verster prison. Officials, marshals of the National Reception Committee trying to get the people, and a salute from Mr. Nelson Mandela, his wife Winnie, greeting the people outside the fences of the Victor Verster prison. That is the man who the world has been waiting to see. His first public appearance in nearly 3 decades. 72 years old, walking strongly, step by step, further into freedom.
Really, he came out of a prison bondage, a prison cell. Not just a prison cell, but on an island, which we call Robben Island in Cape Town, which you couldn't get out of there, you know, he was on an island. So prison cell on an island, in the middle of the ocean. And he speaks about freedom. I really believe that the Lord spoke to him, because when he looked out of his window, he saw the ocean. And I believe he spent so much of time in the Word. And this word freedom seems to really stand out in a lot of his writings. And
he was so much the disciple of Jesus, because this is what Jesus came for. He came to free the captives. He said something also I read today, that freedom of a man finishes where freedom of another man starts.
oh wow,
How brilliant is that? When you think that your freedom, you've got loads of freedom. I mean, when you just focus on being free with Jesus, because with Jesus no other man can carry it, because God is only one who you fear. So you are not fearing any more of people. You are not being in this fear. You are not walking in this fear. You are walking in freedom, because you know that only God, only judge you. Who's judgmental is love. So you are free.
my beautiful sister Sonia, you are such a library of knowledge. As I hear you speaking, it's like ideas and wisdom and things are just downloading in my spirit to say. And I just want to say something that I've learned from my spiritual father, Pastor Aflokar, that he said it many times on the altar. He says the Bible has the word fear not 365 times, meaning the word fear not appears in the Bible 365 times. That's a fear not for every day of the year.
Only, fear not means do not feel the fear. Because it is like assignment. Do something, do what you can do, not to fear.
Yes.
So act upon losing the fear. Act so that you may not fear. If you feel now, do whatever you can do, and Holy Spirit will tell you what you can do, not to remain in this fear, because God wants you to be free. And he will give you tools to do that.
Yes.
He will give you, all that you need. If you don't know how to do that,
He's your helper. He will help you.
Of course, help me to get free today.
Yes.
Get free to love, because we can love only when we're free.
Yes. And freedom begins inside you. Inside you, you are set free, and the manifestation then just, shines out of you. Nelson Mandela was confined to a little prison cell with just a little bed for 27 years. But he was already free before he walked out of those gates.
May the Holy Spirit show us, show everybody who really wants now to get free from those things that kept us imprisoned the most. It took away our joy. So I ask you, Holy Spirit, we ask you to this day, show us and help us get out to to be free, and to walk the walk of freedom. Thank you so much. You gave us this possibility. Thank you so much. You're here to cooperate with us.
In Jesus' name, who the Son sets free is free indeed. In Jesus' name.
Be active to free yourself. Be active in cooperation with God. Make a step. Let's all do that. Let's all do that here as we are together. Let us work together.
Amen.